Mighty Oak Christmas Short. It was Christmas time again. The family were away visiting relatives. It was Christmas Eve, late afternoon. For December it was particularly mild. All the animals were gathered around Mighty Oak. They were remembering all the funny stories of the past year. Their excitement when in the summer Boris had come to them, their now dear friend the capuchin monkey. Although he wasn't with them long, he made a big impression. They all had funny stories. A magpie named Jack was beside himself laughing, so much so he could not get his words out, which was rather perplexing for the rest of them. He calmed himself down. "Timmy, I'm sorry, but I will never ever forget the look on your face when Boris put his hand in your mouth." They all roared with laughter, picturing the scene. "What did it taste like, Timmy?" It went quiet, everyone staring at Stan, the poor mole, as he retreated back, embarrassed, back into the earth. It was a close shave when Andrew thought he'd seen a snake in Mighty Oak's branches. "It was Boris's tail," Peter the Hairy called. "Oh, yes," they replied. "Hey, Arthur, do you remember when you got your head stuck in that peanut tin?" "What?" the badger replied, indignant. "No, I didn't." Oh dear, the atmosphere had changed. "I didn't mean anything by it," replied Claire, now sad-looking Robin. "Well, my friends, do you want to hear a Christmas story?" asked the mighty tree. "Oh, yes, please," they all cried in unison. All the animals, insects, and birds made themselves comfortable. Mighty Oak began. "This is a story about Sarah, little girl." "How old, Mighty Oak?" "Shh, Harry, just listen." The embarrassed mouse apologized. "Sorry, Mighty Oak." "That's all right." She was 9 years old. Now, Sarah's parents were quite well off. She wanted for nothing. They ran a hardware store. Being the only one, they did very well. They sold so many products: household items, gardening equipment, decorating items. Sarah was spoiled. Not a very nice little girl. Even though she had all the latest toys, very fancy bedroom, she even had a pony named Blossom. Sadly, nothing was ever good enough for Sarah. She always wanted more. She was not popular at school. She bullied other children. She looked down at them. Sarah was of the opinion she was better than anyone else. Her parents were loving, hard-working, kind people who had come from humble beginnings. They were beside themselves with worry about their Sarah. They wanted to be proud of her. They wanted her to be the kind, loving child they had hoped for. There was a boy at school Sarah could not stand. Andrew, blonde-haired boy, handsome-looking young man. He was the polar opposite of Sarah. He was popular with teacher and children alike. He was smart, funny, but most of all he was kind. Sarah couldn't stand him, could not see why he was so popular. Now, it was September, and Sarah had already prepared a list of presents she had written down for her parents to get her for Christmas. However, this year her father returned her list. "Not this year, Sarah. You will have what we decide." What? She couldn't believe it. This had never happened before. "I know, I'll go to Mummy." Now this tactic of Sarah's never ever failed. She would play her parents against each other. It worked like a charm, without fail. Only this time it was different. "No, Sarah, you will have what your father and I decide." She was flabbergasted. What was going on? Later on, she overheard her parents discussing about fundraising for some stupid charity. She went to her room, slamming the door. The next morning at school there was a strange atmosphere. Sarah couldn't put her finger on it. It seemed quieter somehow. In the breaks the pupils seemed to be secretive about something. Gary approached Sarah. She had no time for Gary. He was a friend of that awful Andrew. He began to say they were collecting for... He got no further. Sarah pushed him to the floor, walked away smug. She bumped straight into Andrew. What had he done? He looked stupid. All his blonde hair had gone. He was completely bald. "Well, look at you, Baldy. You look so stupid. You look like an old man." Now Andrew's reaction made her feel so strange, so uncomfortable. Sarah, I want you to remember something. Please promise me you'll remember. Whatever. What, Baldy? I want you to remember that I know you're saying this because you don't understand. Sarah had a chill run through her body. She had goosebumps, but she didn't know why. Whatever, Baldy. That evening, she sat at the dinner table and Sarah kept on saying how her life was unfair, moaning about her Christmas list. Her father had had enough. Sarah, stop. Just stop. You selfish child. Sarah was aghast. She sat open-mouthed. Her daddy had never ever spoken to her like that. Actually, young lady, it won't hurt you to have no presents this year. We are fundraising with other parents. There is a child in your class who is desperately ill. We are arranging a special Christmas. Who's ill? Sarah, how don't you even know? Her mother was incredulous. It's Andrew. The colour drained from Sarah. She ran to her room. She was throwing everything around. That's why he'd lost his hair. I called him Baldy. I'm so horrible. She sat on her floor and sobbed. Later that evening, Sarah came out of her room. Mummy, Daddy, I have a list. She gave her father the paper. He quickly glanced at it. Sarah, go to bed. But Dad. Now. She ran off crying. Her mother took the paper. Oh no. Top of the list, how to raise money. 1. Blossom rides. 2. Cake sale. 3. Cutting grass. It went on. They went to Sarah's bedroom. The three hugged. Sarah felt so sad for Andrew. In the morning, she felt different today. She felt good about herself. She couldn't remember ever feeling that. She approached Andrew. Andrew, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Friends fall out, don't they? You're my friend? I always thought we were friends, he replied. Sarah became the main fundraiser, despite her age. That Christmas, Andrew had the most magical Christmas you could imagine. Sarah's best gift was her friendship with Andrew. She loved him like a brother. Sarah was now popular, made many friends, and was happy doing good for others. She finally understood. Sadly, in the new year, Andrew lost his fight. His legacy lived on. All who knew Andrew would never forget him. All the animals were silent. The mood was sombre. Some were crying. That wasn't a good Christmas story, Mighty Oak. That was sad. A lot muttered in agreement with Martin the fox. Timmy put his hand up. Mighty Oak? Yes, Timmy. It is sad. It's very sad. But Andrew was already saved. Because of Andrew being ill, Sarah was saved as well. So it was happy. Sarah was lost, but she was found. Timmy, my boy. The mighty tree couldn't speak. He was overwhelmed. Well, Mighty Oak, jolly good story for us to hear at Christmas. Now I think we ought to go home so we can get here nice and early for Christmas morning. Yes, Major. Thank you, Mighty Oak. I love you all. Sleep well, my darlings. See you in the morning. One by one they slowly departed, except for Timmy, whose dray was now in Mighty Oak's trunk. Mighty Oak? Yes, Timmy. What happened to Sarah? Sarah? Well, Timmy, come here, climb to the fence. Look over to the cricket pitch. What do you see? Oh, yes, I forgot they feed the elderly in the pavilion on Christmas Eve. That blonde-haired lady, she runs it every year. Yes, Timmy, that's Sarah pushing that man in the wheelchair. You see, she never did stop helping people. Oh, Mighty Oak, she really was saved.